All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm John Clay, your show host and chief transformation guide. And welcome back to Benefits with John Clay. And this is the May 12th edition, 2023. And we're happy to have you along for this great insight chapter into what took place the last part of 2022 and what the forecast looks like for the first quarter of 2023. Because, look, folks, we're in the tank again, looking at inflation, looking at all the other components of business, and trying to make heads or tails out of it and trying to forecast forward as C suite executives are often chosen and selected and implored to do, and that is to break out the crystal ball and see into the future. And we're going to help give you some insights about that today so that you can also rest assured that you're not alone and that you have the same insights that we have in comparing what you see out in the future with what we see and to try to translate that into the best course of action for your business. So once again, I want to give a shout out to our show sponsor, none other than Better Source Benefits. Check it out at www.bettersourcebenefits.com and check on the results page and the insights page, because a lot of information out there about what we've been doing for clients, and I think you'll find it valuable as you go forward and look for solutions and strategies that will help mitigate business problems that you may face in your own life. So let's talk a little bit about productivity and cost. In the first quarter of 2023, looks like a small uptick, but we continue to see the Fed nudging up these interest rates. Access to capital is challenged. The cost of capital is certainly a major concern on all balance sheets. And, if you're going to do an expansion or acquisition, you've got to look at those kinds of figures each time they come out. And whenever they bump that a quarter of a percentage point, dang it, it's just not in the best interest of what we're doing. It's trying to cool the economy down, and it's certainly doing that. But at the same time, when we look at the statistics, unit labor costs in the non-farm business sector have increased 6.3%. So when you're just talking about the cost of these jobs, they say that there's tons of jobs out there. However, the costs have gone up, and a lot of it's due in part to the healthcare costs, and a lot of it's due to the inflation that if they're going to borrow money to make an expansion happen, that interest rates is a key factor in the cash flow to provide jobs. In the last 4 quarters, labor costs have increased 5.8%. Let's think about that. How many of us have seen a 5% increase in salary? What about your medical costs? Have they gone up 5.8% or more? I hear all the time people are talking about trend increases, 11% trend on healthcare. These are made up numbers, but we'll talk about that in another show. Hey, trend, medical trend. An interesting fact, we'll study that another time. But when you talk about labor productivity, we're trying to squeeze more juice out of that lemon and create an index that will help project what we need for future labor. And if you're looking at the increase of labor productivity at 1.1%, then you're trying to figure out how do we get more out of our current workforce. Wow, what a challenge. I mean, in the fourth quarter of 2022, that seems that productivity was revised down 0.1%. And that resulted in an overall increase of 1.6, but it was revised down because labor productivity, not where we need it to be, or because you've got the great resignation we've talked about on prior shows. People are quietly quitting. and they continue to look for other opportunities. I see a ton of blog posts and actually feedback from other employers who are talking about folks or parents for that matter, parents who say my son or my daughter changed jobs every year. And every time they change, they get a $3 per hour increase, but they have to move for that. They have to move a town, or they have to find a new place to live. And they talk about the tremendous increase in cost for housing. Craziness. So not only is there a great resignation and people actively looking for another position, but when they do, look at the costs that are associated with that. When you're young, you don't care about the cost to move because you're looking at that increase in hourly wage, right? Oh, I got $3 increase on the hour, but my rent went up to $1,400 a month. Come on, man. I mean, do the math. The math is done on the hourly rate, right? But they're not looking at the other costs that are associated with that move. And gosh, it works in the advantage of everyone, but most of the time the employee, unless they're paying attention and working those costs. Because what are we looking at? You've got the first quarter labor productivity decreasing. You've got output per hour figures that are coming along. You've got the preliminary fourth quarter and annual 2022 measures that, hours work increased 1.2%. So we're working longer to get that increase in productivity. How's that working for you? Those clock punchers that are leaving at 4 o'clock or 4:30 on the dot, where's that other productivity coming from? Well, it may be coming from the ownership, right? Or we're throwing more money at it from an overtime standpoint because people are saying, oh yeah, I need to pick up a few extra hours so I can work overtime and create that additional productivity, but then it costs you wages. So it's all an interesting matrix of inputs and outputs and throughputs. And again, we want to highlight the idea that healthcare is an important component and a vital part of the hiring process. Whenever you're considering hiring, it's the easiest lever to pull to provide value with these jobs. And if you're delivering a better benefit package, you will long term win the race. And another shout out to our friends at Better Source Benefits, because we've got examples that we can share with you that show how to manage that healthcare supply chain and deliver better value with financial security and better healthcare outcomes for your employees. Because healthcare is a huge component of overall business. And as we move through these trying times with higher interest rates, you've got to find a way to meet that fiduciary responsibility as an employer and quit abdicating that fiduciary responsibility to an insurance company or to a broker. You've got to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and get in there and wrangle with it. We've seen the first quarter also. Another little tidbit that is always good to share is that durable manufacturing a year ago was at 5.8% on unit labor costs, 5.8 on the measuring scale. In the previous quarter, it was down 5.2. So you've got just business overall in that same trend, 5.9 to 5.7. You've got other non-farm business at 5.8 from 6.3. So all of that stuff is trending downward, and you want to think positively. And so you have to take these reports and ignore them and focus on what you can control, because these surveys are all great and indicators and they're newsworthy. But at the end of the day, focusing on what you can control is the entrepreneurial spirit that thrives within us. And we can't have that extinguished with bad news. So that's what we want to talk about today. We certainly have all of the opportunities before us to look into and do a deep dive into managing all components of your business. And that is my show today. It's going to be a short one because we want to take time for you to focus back on your Friday and get ready for Mother's Day. I'm John Clay. I'm at Better Source Benefits. Shout out to them. Check us out at www.bettersourcebenefits.com and book a time to help discuss at no charge to you. Let's book a 30-minute review. We'll talk and laugh, and we'll figure out what good fit we might be able to be for your business to help manage that healthcare supply chain and get you on the track to a better world for your employees and for your bottom line. See you next time, and happy Mother's Day to all.